half hour. Welcome to the happy half hour. I just heard the ding that says we are now free to podcast around the country. And I'm doing my jazz version of the tin whistle.
Is that what that is? Is
Which
that
is
what
made,
you're doing?
which is made out of plastic. Yeah, I know. It's a good thing I
A
explained
tin
that.
whistle made out of plastic. All right.
Oh, the irony. So I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy, and I'm here with my buddy, my friend, my partner in crime, Steve O'Hayes. Steve O'Hayes, how are you today, brother?
I'm doing all right today. Today's a chill day for me. Today's a day I'm working through some stuff in my head,
Mm,
kind of in my head a little bit.
yeah.
Watched a couple of Rockies. I was coming home the other day, and Eye of the Tiger came on, and we gotta love Eye of the Tiger, right? Exactly. And everything started rising up in me like what that song always does, And then I was like, I need to watch that movie. And it's been a long time since I've watched those movies. I know some people like to watch them all the time. They are classics. Did you realize that they are like 50 years old, Joe?
Dear Lord. Gosh. Well,
I mean, I
was
looked
doing
that
okay
up.
when you said that.
It was like 1976. Joe and I were from the 1900s, by the way.
That's right.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, that's 50 years old almost. It's a year shy of, there's no way. But I've been watching those, and those have been doing, of course, Joe, you're like me. For those of you guys out there that are listening and watching, man, Joe and I, we get a lot out of life from watching the things around us. We're both very visual people. Everybody's built a little different, but I get a lot from movies. I get a lot of inspiration from my wife gives me a hard time. We're kind of role reversal. I'm more like the Sleepless in Seattle guy. She's more like the Die Hard guy. She calls them Steve-O movies, but I get a lot of good. I think good drama, a good book, a good movie, a good play, a good drama, a good song, right? Take us to where real life, really is. And so that's kind of what's got me. My brain is in the thinking mode.
All right.
A little bit. That's how I'm doing.
Well,
How about yourself?
Before we jump into that, let's pick your brain, but let's first introduce ourselves. So tell people a little about who you are and what you're up to, and then I'll introduce myself, and then we'll dive into that brain of yours.
Well, my name is Steve. My friends call me Steve-O, but those that really know me call me Steve. I am a happypreneur. I'm here to help you find your happy, to navigate, activate, and advocate your happy, to find it, turn it on, and walk along beside you. That's why we created Happy Life Studios in the first place. It's also why one of the main reasons why Joe and I are doing Happy Half Hour live every week, because we want to help you with your happy, with your wholeness, with your hope. And so you can find us at happylife.studio. I'm a messenger, and I'm here to help. It's an acronym that stands for I bring healing, I bring encouragement, I help you laugh, and I help you ponder. And that's what helps us get through life. And we all need people like that in our lives. And that's why I exist. That's why I'm here. Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Mojo McCarthy.
And you can find all of Steve-O's stuff at
happylife.studio. It's an easy one. Or happylife.lol. I mean, that's an easy one to remember too, but I still can't believe I have that web address. I think it's pretty cool.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. Yes. So as Steve said, I am Joseph Mojo McCarthy. I go by Mojo on all platforms because it's Joe, but just a little Mo. Not to mention,
there you go.
Not to mention Mojo Rising and a cup of Mojo, all the great stuff. I just love the concept of Mojo, and we all need that. We all need our Mojo to be topped off from time to time, because sometimes the cup gets low. So as with Steve-O, it's my job to, and he uses the acronym HELP as he just described. I use the acronym PLAY. I find it like it's my mission, it's my calling, it's my desire to help me and help you, whoever you might be, play more. And the PLAY for me is a 4-letter acronym that stands for pretend, which is unleashing your imagination, laughter, which is one of the same L in help, to ask, which is curiosity, because curiosity suspends my judgment and keeps me growing and discovering. And then Y is yield both to what's happening around, right? Especially I say, let go, let God, but also then to see the yield, the fruits, as Steve-O often points out, what we plant is also what we reap. And so I love to see the fruit of being intentional about playing. So between the two of us, we like to help you play. That's what we do.
Right on. And that's why we come together in a team. That's why, Joe, I mean, if you want to know what's on my mind, it's today when you said, are we on? I'm like, we are on like ding dong. You know, when people say we're on like King Kong or we're on like Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong and King Kong both have the same thing. They're both a couple of apes that love to tear things down. But ding dongs, man, they make life better. They make life, and they always come in pairs. They always come in twos. And so right when you finish one, you know you got one more to
Woo.
go. Hostess has that going on. I mean, and with their cupcakes, I think the Twinkies come in twos as well. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, we're here to help you with your life. We're here to help you, not because we got an answer, but because every one of us needs somebody else to help us.
That's right.
And you know, that's why we started a Happy Half Hour Live in the very first place.
Because we all need somebody to lean on. So lean on me. Yeah, such a great song. And that's kind of the theme song of Happy Half Hour is learning to be able to cry for help when we help is what we need, and also to be attentive when others are crying for help so we can jump in, because either way, either by asking for help and you get the companionship that Steve was talking about, even if it's a ding dong or a Twinkie, or being able to hear somebody else's cry for help and be there to help them through whatever they are. Because, like that song says, someday I'm going to need you to lean on. So lean on me now, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the joy of living right there.
And I like to say, if you don't get help, then you don't get help. So if we don't go get help, then we're not going to get help,
Mm.
right? And people say a lot of times, you know, at least I heard a lot more several years ago than you do as much now, but you don't know me. Well, maybe the reason I don't know you is because you haven't told me about you. Maybe I don't know your struggle, your situation, and I want to know your struggle. I want to know your situation. If you don't get help, then you don't get help. And we've got to be vulnerable and let people know that we need help to get that help. And we all need help. Coaches have coaches,
Right.
right? Therapists have therapists. Counselors have counselors. Joe and I are both life coaches. But we have coaches in our life that help us because we need that. Remember back in the day, Joe, it used to be like we called them shrinks. You know, if you went to go get a shrink, then there was something wrong in your head no, there's something right in your head when you find somebody else that can help you. And that's why at Happy Life Studio, we want to navigate, activate, and advocate. We want to walk alongside you because the song says it, Joe. We all need someone to lean on.
So
You have helped me many times, spoken into my life when you can't always encourage yourself. And Joe, you talk about it a lot. The whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's not even possible. We
nope.
can't do that. We need somebody else to help pull us up by our bootstraps.
Yeah.
But for that to happen, we've got to be willing to allow them to do that.
Well, you're talking about Rocky movies earlier, right? And that reminds me of this Joseph Campbell idea. Joseph Campbell analyzed all the great stories throughout history, cultures throughout history, to see what were the commonalities, if there were any. And he found there's these certain things that happen in every epic story of humanity, and he calls it the hero's journey. And one of the things about the hero's journey that is inevitable is that there's someone, a companion, or several in your walk. They don't do the journey for you, but they walk alongside you. So, one of the easy examples that comes from me is from Lord of the Rings, where Frodo's going out on his adventure and Sam's there with him. Guess what? Sam doesn't know anything either. Sam's just, he's been in the Shire his whole life, just like Frodo. And they're like, we're going on an adventure. Like, this is going to be just great fun. And of course, they face terrible, scary, life-threatening, grueling, tasks. And yet Sam and Frodo stick together, and Sam often says, you know what, I don't have an answer, but I'm here, so let's just keep moving forward, right? And I've heard people analyze this, we've talked about this a little bit before, you analyze the story and say, what if Sam and Frodo are really one character,
Interesting.
and this the voices inside of her head, because part of us wants to give up and say, I can't do this. And maybe there's another voice inside of her head, and maybe it's the voice of a mentor or a guide or a coach or a friend or a parent who says, you can do this, right? Just keep moving. And we get the voices inside of her head that are moving one step at a time. Okay, one more step. And that's how we get anywhere, Steve. Is one step at a time.
Yeah, and that's what I've been really digging about the whole Rocky movies. You know, when the guy was nobody cared about him. Then he starts to win, and everybody, even in his most sick state, when he's in the hospital after the fight, I mean, he looks like he'd been through a car accident, right? And everybody they want an autograph from him. They want something from him, you
Right.
know. And then when he stops fighting again, then all of a sudden they treat him like he's nothing, you know. And then I mean, and yet he continues to have this mentality of this positive mentality. And in Lord of the Rings, it's one of my favorite series. I love the Lord of the Rings series. And in my opinion, in America, especially, we look at the star, to be the main guy. But I think the real hero, and you and I have talked about this, at least privately, personally, before we've talked about this, but we both have, I'll just speak for myself. I think that the hero of the Lord of the Rings, sure, Frodo is a hero of the Lord of the Rings. There's no doubt about it. It couldn't have happened without him. But I think that the real hero of the Lord of the Rings is Samwise Gamgee, and he doesn't get any of the credit in the same way that Rocky wasn't getting any of the credit. But Rocky was still who he was, And it's just funny that when we start to win, people want our time and our attention. But my thought that I've been thinking the last couple of days has just been, we've got Rockies all around us. There's all sorts of people out there that just haven't had their shot, haven't been given their shot, that have a lot to offer. And then when Rocky almost beat Apollo Creed and then stopped boxing for a while, dude, he couldn't even get a job,
Right.
And then when he starts fighting again, then everybody wants his attention again. Well, man, there's people out there that have skills and talents and abilities, and they're heroes. And just because they don't have the championship belt around their waist, the plaque on their wall, does not mean that they're not as valuable as they were. So I think we oftentimes like to give people credit when they're on the top, but I think we should start paying attention to people when they're not on the top. To me, that really says a lot about their character when they're not on the top and they continue to do the right thing.
Well, that's the other thing about the hero's journey that you're just tapping into right there, is that a hero's journey isn't happy, happy, joy, joy. A hero's journey is facing things that you don't think you can face, right? Overcoming obstacles you didn't even know were there.
Yeah.
Finding something inside of you that you didn't realize was there, right? The courage, the resilience, the ability to solve problems, and also the willingness to ask for help. So Brendan Burchard often says, there's this misunderstanding out there that no one's going to come to rescue you, so you're on your own. He says, well, the reason that's the case because you don't ask for help, right?
Right.
If there's a ship going by or a plane going by and you're stranded on a desert island, you light the tree on fire, right? Put help on the sand, jump up and down, wave your arms. And what you and I have talked about before, Steve, and I love is that crying for help is a courageous thing.
Yeah.
It's been painted as you're weak if you cry for help. Are you kidding me? The courage to say I need help, that's called humility, and that's a good thing. That's a great character trait. And I just love the fact that that even in Lord of the Rings, if we're going to stay there for a while, is that there's this bunch of companions, this fellowship of the ring, and they're not all involved on all the parts of the story, but when they're needed, whatever their expertise is, to your point, Steve-O, whatever their gifting, whatever their understanding, whatever they've gone through, they show up at the right time, at the right place, for the right reason, and that's what we call a hero.
Hero.
Not because their names are in lights, or even because they won the fight. By the way, Dan Marino, guess how many Super Bowls Dan Marino won?
Did he win any Super Bowls?
0, right?
Wow.
And he's a Hall of Famer, considered one of the best quarterbacks in history. And he
go ahead.
Right.
I got something to say about that.
Yeah, jump in. Go ahead.
I'm tired of us measuring people by the Super Bowl rings.
Right.
Exactly. There's a lot of Hall of Fame quarterbacks out there that they keep, and the media keeps trying to play it up like, oh, he needs to get his ring, or he needs to get his second ring, or he needs to get his. I understand shooting for that, but I don't know if you saw the interview with Scotty Scheffler after he won I think it was his last major that he won, but he started talking about how my whole life I prepared to win. My whole life I worked for this moment, and then I enjoy it for about 10 minutes. And it's on to the next thing. And he started talking about what's really important in life. And man, I think we just take. I can just speak for me. I tend to put too much credence in the trophies, and then when people are on the top, and when someone is noticed and they're not on the top. When I'm noticed and I'm not on the top, when I didn't do some grand, great thing, and someone notices what I do, at that point I notice that they notice it because of me, not because of my performance. And I just have this little kind of a pet peeve of mine when everything is about like Dan Marino. I didn't even know he hadn't won a Super Bowl. I guessed right there because the way you set it up, I was like, are you going to tell me 0? Does that mean that he was a loser of a quarterback?
Of course not.
We got our measuring system. I think sometimes my measuring system, especially for me personally, has got to change. I got to stop looking at the belts and the trophies and start looking at, am I doing the right thing for the right reason at the right time? Am I finding people that need help, that need encouragement? Can I encourage people on the daily without getting paid for it? Can I encourage people when I pick up my coffee, when I'm walking past someone on the street, when I'm, whatever?
Yeah, so good. So this is really interesting because I didn't. For those who are listening in, we didn't plan this out. We didn't have notes. We were just having a conversation before we jumped on, and this theme has bubbled up since we went live about rings. And I'm starting to make these connections. Right? We talked about the Lord of the Rings, and now we talked about Super Bowl rings, and this idea came to me that we're
And
trying
Rocky fought in
in the
the
ring.
ring.
There we
Yeah.
go. There we go. Three illustrations that came up without any forethought or any planning, and that I don't believe in coincidences. And I think there's a theme here that we need to think about. That's going to be very helpful. Is that there's this false notion, this false narrative that our value is determined by the rings that we win, right? But the ring is a representation of what? Is of the journey that got you there, right?
Wow.
I watch these Super Bowl and NBA championships, and they hold up the trophy, but they've listened to interviews. It's not the trophy they're celebrating; it's all the stuff they had to do to get to that point where they could hoist the trophy, right?
Yeah.
And so, um, it's often said cliche wise, Steve-O, that the journey is the destination. And we can say that all we want, but we're focused on the ring, the
Yeah.
trophy, the end game. When, if you think about it, in the big picture, the end game is death. How are we in a hurry to get there? No. So the joy, I mean, the epic stories, the hero's journey that we all go through isn't about the ring, even though the ring's in the title. The ring is the trophy, the ring is the object of our affection, whatever that is. But the story is about going from totally unprepared and not even knowing what I'm getting into to going through stuff I didn't know I was able to do till I got to the place where the ring is. And I either destroyed the ring before it destroyed me or I hoisted it up. But it's not the ring that matters. The ring isn't valuable. It's
Right.
all the stuff I went through to get there, right?
Well said. Well said. And the tragic thing is too, is if it becomes the ring, if the ring is what I'm pursuing, then when I finally get it and I go, that's it.
Right. Yeah.
That's what Scotty Scheffler was saying. And I should find that for one of our episodes and play it. But
So
that's
good.
the whole point. When you get there and you're like, that's it. Well, yeah, if that was your end game, that is it. Right.
Yes.
But we've talked about this before. In skiing, I enjoy the lift up as much as I enjoy the skiing down, And so when what we're really talking about right now sets us up for not being disappointed later in life. You look at these many stars and athletes, superstars,
Yeah.
um, these mega athletes, right? That there was two Olympic athletes, Lindsey Vonn and Julia Mancuso, right? And one of them was asked, what was their perfect Olympics, and they're like, if I come out of here with a gold, and the other one basically said, if I come out of here with a smile,
Right.
and when you win, when the gold is your end game, then when you get the gold, you celebrate it for 10 minutes, and then you're like, what? And the sentence I was said before, I haven't finished. All these mega stars and athletes that retire, how many times they retire? Because they retire, and it was about the ring, so they got to come back and they got to play more because they found their hope. They're happy. They found in the end game, they got the end game, and now they don't have it anymore. So they got to come back and get the end game. And that is it's a really difficult way to live, to keep your hope, your contentment, your happy, to thrive. It's a difficult way to live when we live in that way, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the point that you're bringing up here, I've heard it said this way, Steve-O, is that there are ends goals, which is what we're
I
after,
like that.
and there's means goals,
Okay.
right? And when we get those two mixed up, that's when life gets upside down. So money, whether it's paper or it's a number, isn't what we're after. We think it is. We think we're after the money, but what we really want is the freedom, or we want the vacation, or we want the security. But we get the means goals and the ends goals mixed up, and we think the goal is the money, and that's why it's never satisfying, because that isn't really what we're after. We just got mixed
Yeah.
up. Oh, that was the means to the end, right? So what really matters is love and joy and peace. Love, joy, peace, and hope. Maybe put those in there. But
Yeah.
those are the ends goals. But then we think the means to them, whether that's through achievement, through accolades, through awards, whatever. When that becomes the goal, as you said, Steve, well, then it loses its meaning and it becomes meaningless. Might not
Yeah.
become meaningless completely, but it means less than what we really wanted, which is a sense of peace and contentment and happiness and purpose and love. Really, that's what we're after. And I love that just reminder that the trophy, the ring, the whatever the thing is, that's just a representation of what we really want, and that's the ability to struggle and to survive and to overcome and to do it with a team, right? And who we're becoming in that process. That's the means, right? And the goal isn't. It's not the thing.
I that's I'm not saying much right here. This is why. Don't interrupt me for a second.
Sure.
Because I know when I'm quiet, you're probably like, he didn't have anything to say. So I have plenty to say. But Joe, that was well said. That was so well said. I want to sit in that a minute. I'm in that headspace now anyway, but I want to sit in that a minute. It is so good. It is so good. And when we get them switched around, we put the cart in front of the horse. It doesn't work like that, right? We major in the minors.
Yeah.
We make the minor thing the major thing. We make the means the end game, and it's just a means to the end. Man, if money made you happy, then every rich person would be happy. The problem with that is this: is that a person. Anyway, I'll go to that story. The problem with that is this: is that no one ever admits that they're rich, right? It's always the people in front of them that are rich, the people at the next bracket that are rich, and I think there's something healthy about looking at the riches that we already have. Yeah, you might not, you might have $3.23 in the bank, and that might be an exaggeration, right? But what areas are we rich in? What areas? And you just mentioned so many of them right there: the loving people, the helping people, the hope. No one on their deathbed talks about how they wish they had more money. They talk about how they wish they had more time. They wish they had more time to be with somebody, or they could tell somebody something. So what you said, Joe, was so it was really good, man. That was really good. In fact, if you want to go back and visit that again,
Sure.
I receive it. This is really good for me today. I mean, this has been, I like it, Joe.
Good.
Keep it
Good.
up.
Well, I'm glad. Well, I've got in this moment, Steve. It's beautiful because I'm sharing something that I've learned and I'm learning and I'm living, and it's touching your life here in real time, which fills my bucket. Right.
Yeah.
This is what I'm really after. I'm not after the ends goal. I think it is. I think that's what I'm after. I'm after the experience of getting there, of
Yeah.
growing, of becoming. Right. And we often talk about being something, and being is what we are right now, but becoming is the growing part, and it's learning as we go. I say there's like this circle: living is learning, is living, is learning, is living, is learning, right? And so even as I'm sharing this with you and it's hitting you deeply, which is making me feel like, okay, all right, this is meaningful, it's valuable, and that fills my bucket. But just a reminder to say it in another way, that oftentimes we get our means goals, which might be money, awards, accolades, achievements, mixed up with the ends goals, which what we really want is joy and peace and love and hope and happiness and fulfillment. And if we get those things mixed up, well, the means goals will never satisfy. Those are means to an end. And it's
Yeah.
remembering, what is it? What am I really after? This will help me get there. Great. So that has a purpose, but it's always temporary. It
Yeah.
doesn't it's not sustainable. In fact, I heard Madonna in this interview in Esquire magazine years ago. When she was at the top of her game, Madonna was the entertainer of her generation, and she would come up with these amazing stage shows that people had never seen before. She was highly creative, and she would work really hard to get the crowd to go, wow. And she would said in this interview, she says, in that moment, when the crowd is seeing and hearing and experiencing something they've never experienced before, and they're going wild, she said, I felt amazing. I felt like this is what I'm made for. And then I go to the dressing room. I'm like, oh, what's next? Right? What's next?
No
And
crowd in the dressing room.
right, no crowd in the dressing room. And she says, I finally got to the point in my career where this happened over and over again. I realized that's the way we're wired, right? The moments that are so great, they don't last because we
Yeah.
got more moments ahead of us. So
Yeah.
instead of finding fulfillment in that moment, I still want to do that, but realize That's not the end goal. That's the means goal to what I really want is a sense of pride, of accomplishment, of doing something,
Yeah.
of making people happy. She was
Right.
bringing joy to people in that moment, but she got
Well
the two
said.
things mixed up, and then so she said it's not fulfilling. It's like you fill up, and then you deflate, and you fill
Yeah.
up, and you deflate, and you deflate. Yeah,
Because the means doesn't have the same punch as the end. It doesn't have the same substance. There's not the depth to the means. That's why if you make money your end game, it's supposed to be a means to an end.
right.
Money is there for us to help people, not just for us to live high and fancy, which we can do, okay? But the happiest people are those that learn how to give it away, and that's why money is there. When we hoard our money instead of sharing our money, that's what causes the Great Depression, all that type of stuff. We don't need to get into all that detail now. But what I mean, if you take something like a means that doesn't have the substance of the end and you make it the end, then you always need more. If attention, that's a means, it's not the end game.
Right.
But if we make it the end game, like Madonna was doing, then you always have to have more. And we can all think of people that we know in life personally, or we know on the screen, the big screen, that just like at some point, can you just stop? You don't need any more attention, right? But that's because, in my opinion, and I'd like to know your thought on this, in my opinion, it's because we've taken something that's supposed to be the means to the end and we've made it the end, and it doesn't have the substance to support us or what we need.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I would even say there's an internal and external component to this because the means goals are often external things. It's winning, it's achieving, it's gaining, it's money, whatever that thing is. That's all things that I can bring to me, but the end goal is in me. It's not out there. The end goal is peace of mind. It's happiness, it's love, it's the things that are fulfilling, but the fulfillment comes from in here, not from out there. So these things come and they go, but they never fill me up. This is like eating. You eat it and you get full for a second, and then you poop it out, right? And you got to eat some
Right.
more.
Right.
It's the same thing. It lasts, but it lasts only for a moment. It's not sustainable. So what we really want to remember is these things are things that are get us to what a sense of peace of mind, good relationships, right? A sense of joy, peace, a sense of purpose. That's the things that really make me feel full and it lasts. It doesn't just get pooped out every other day. Right.
Right. And it's funny to me, like the other day I had a lot. I had a lot to eat. And I thought, you get that, every one of us have gotten there.
Sure.
Hopefully,
Oh, yeah.
we've gotten that to the point where
All you can eat salad bar, baby.
there you go, right? Buffalo Wild Wings, man. They had all you can eat appetizers.
Right.
And I'm never going to eat again, But even when you eat more than you should have ate and you're stuffed, sooner or later, you're going to be hungry for it again.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And, the thing that gets me with what you said is not what you said. I liked what you said, but everyone talks about setting, what's your 5-year plan? If you told someone my 5-year plan is I want to be happier. I want to be more at peace. I want to help people more. No, that's not a goal. You can't measure that. Well, they're making the goals all about the means. And that I understand that because, as you said, those things are measurable. But the problem with that is that we leave out the ends to be the part of our goal. Like, okay, I want to make this much money, or I want to have this many sales, or I want to, I want to achieve this by this point for the purpose of being more peaceful or more giving or whatever. So then if we get to that time frame and we didn't get there, we say, I didn't raise the money, I didn't meet my goal, I didn't do what I wanted to accomplish, but am I more peaceful? On the other hand, because we can meet the goal and be less peaceful, be less at hope,
Right.
be less hopeful. We could be meaning less, as you said earlier.
Yeah. So we only have a minute left, but I want to come full circle right back to the Rocky movie, the original Rocky movie. And Rocky goes through all the training, all of the preparation, all of the media hype in that first movie. And at the end, we were all expecting, when I saw Rocky the first time, we were expecting they were going to raise Rocky's arm up to say, champion, right? And he didn't. After all that, Apollo Creed wins. And there was zero disappointment on Rocky's face.
And what did he say? I mean, he didn't win, yet he says, Yo, Adrian, we did it. No, you didn't do it. We could say, no, you didn't do it. You didn't win no, because his end, he had the end and the means correct in there, right? Exactly right. He wanted to last the fight. He wanted to be standing at the end, and he was. Man, Great
So
illustration, Joe.
good, right?
Great ending.
Yes, he didn't win this fight, but he won the war, right? They say you
Yeah.
can lose the battle and win the war, or you can win the battle and lose the war. And
However it works, but you know what we're
he
talking
he got it
about.
right. Yeah. So good stuff, Steve. Was so good. So here's what we're gonna do, people. We're gonna take a break here. We're gonna end this half hour. We're gonna reset. We'll be right back here on Chat Mosa in just a minute, and Nish will be here as our guest. And if you want to join us on Chat Mosa, you can.
Please do.
And we're going to keep the TikTok flying so we can keep raising awareness and get people tuned
Tell
in.
us how to do that too. By the way, Joey, go to chatmosa.com and you'll see the happy half hour life there. Just click on that and enter, and then you can join us live. We would love to get your input or just have you in the room with us.
Yeah. And I'm going to end with gratitude, as always, say thank you to Happy, who's one of the founders of Chat Mosa and here to support us, and to Nish, who came to spend her time with us. She could be doing whatever she wanted, and she decided to spend time with us, which I don't take that for granted. And I believe she'll be back to help us with our next half hour. And to Steve O'Hays for always sharing his heart right here on the screen with all of you. All right. So till next time, peace out and
peace in.
all right. See you soon.